Hello, Mike Lanzini.
Hello, Justin Berganzoni. How are you today?
Doing good. How's
All
everyone
right.
doing today?
Looks like we've got a few people showing up already. About 16 people in the chat room. Hello, Ed. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us. And Imran, today we're doing this is a live chat. We're going to talk a little bit about some horror movies, some stuff that's coming up, and chat with one of our contributors to the channel. So, Justin, what's new? What do we got going on this week?
I don't know. You notice anything new?
Yeah, it looks like these guys got a couple of new. We're trying to step up our live game, so we've got a little border today. We've got some new microphones, little fun lighting, and you have a new camera angle.
Yeah, it was a camera angle I had early on, but yeah.
Yeah, you brought it back with the mic. It has a better look. Hey, look, John Klein is here. Hello, John. Thanks for hopping in and joining us today. How do we sound? Do we sound better than we did the last few times? Um, so today we're going to have a special guest, and that's Mark Miller of M.L.Miller Frights. He'll be joining us here in a little bit. We're going to kind of wanted to introduce him to you guys. He is a contributor on our channel and does the M.L.Miller Frights. For those of you who haven't watched those, they're really cool. Like Mark has a very good insight into horror and is a huge horror fan. And somebody that I've been reading for a very long time. He used to work for Ain't It Cool News, actually, is when I first started following him. But he'll be joining us a little bit. I don't want to go too much into his backstory until he gets on and joins us and can talk for himself. Hi, Theory of Everything. Thank you for joining us. Tati Maid, hello. Hola. My Spanish is terrible, so I apologize. Justin, what do you got going on over there? Justin's on the
Yeah, I'm on the tech
yeah.
patrol here a little bit, just trying to make sure we sound good and look good for everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us again. So
Yep.
yeah, we want to do more of these, and just trying to make sure the ship's going okay right now.
Yep. Tomorrow we have something really cool coming to the channel, and that is the world premiere exclusive for Derelicts, which is a kind of a Thanksgiving horror film. And I love this movie. I hope you guys love it as well. We're going to go live with it tomorrow at 2 p.m. And we will have a live interview, kind of chat session with the director and some of the cast at 1 o'clock. Before that, so to lead into it. Justin, look at this. It looks like John Klein says he's working on a short film. John, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great, John. You definitely got a place to screen it at when you're done.
Yeah, let us know. We can't wait to see it, man. Is this your first short film, John, or have you ever done any filmmaking in the past? Um, Justin, what's new with you in your world while we're waiting for John's response?
Well, our world been very tired lately. We've been working hard. Um, No, I've been on we've been on a little run for a few months now. I feel like since I first came on, so it's been nice. It's been a lot of work, a lot more work than I anticipated, but good work though.
Yeah, work in a fun way. With a little bit, John says it is his first. That's awesome, man. Can't wait to see it. Filmmaking is one of the funnest things you can do. Like I know a lot of people strive to, we all want to be Steven Spielberg or John Carpenter, or whoever we want to be. He did two TV shows in the '80s. That's awesome, man. Um, but just the filmmaking experience is fun. Just obviously we all want big things to happen, but it's just fun making them.
Yeah, we were just talking about our first short films we did. I shot my first short film in 2005, a film called Dreamland about a guy on the run from Area 51. And it was kind of loosely based on a phone call that was made to Art Bell, coast to coast in 1997, and the phone call was on a Tool song, and it kind of inspired me and my brother to write this short, uh, yeah, about kind of UFOs, and it kind of more so about this guy's escape from the people who were kind of threatening him. So shot that in 2005, and we were just looking at our first shorts a few days ago. Actually, I don't think I've seen your first short yet, Mike. Did we? Did you show it to me,
I
Mike?
don't know. I don't think you have seen mine. Mine was real quick. I want to Jacek. I hope I said that right. Who is behind us? We have there's one of our old employees back there. He was just hanging out. Uh, that's what happens when you
That's who
leave
I
the company.
replaced.
Yeah, that was Justin's predecessor. But oh, it looks like Mark is ready to join us. So we're going to bring Mark Miller in to say hi and have a conversation with, and then we'll chat about some other stuff too. Give us just a moment. There he is.
What's up, Mark?
It's like Mark is connecting to his audio, so we'll give him a moment.
Nice.
To answer your question, Justin, when you said my first short film, no, you have not watched my first short film yet. And it was kind of it was a horror short film. I think most of my films have always been horror. Well, my last feature wasn't really, but yeah, it was ambitious, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But we had a ton of fun doing it. There's a scene in it where I get hit by a car, and I remember we thought I thought that if I had an old mattress, so I would just lay it on the street. And so in the scene, it picks up right where I pretend like I get hit by the car and I just fly back, and I almost knocked myself out because even though I landed on a mattress, that doesn't absorb the fall of like a full
Yeah.
grown person jumping backwards, and I hit my head even through the mattress. I hit my head on the pavement so hard that I almost knocked myself out. So for those of you who may be thinking of using a mattress for stunts, there's a right way to do that,
Yeah,
and
there definitely is a
I
right
did
way
it.
for sure.
I think we lost Mark for a minute, but he will be back.
So let's just you want to give Mark a little intro now, Mike? Tell the audience about who
Yep.
Mark
Yeah.
Miller
For
is if you
those of you
don't
that
already know.
are, yeah, for those of you that are kind of joining us right now, Mark Miller is a writer and a movie reviewer and a horror movie expert. He knows more about horror movies than maybe he rivals a little bit of Tony Strauss. Those are a gentleman that helps us with our film festival, but he's just has a great voice, great insight into horror filmmaking, and he is a contributor with M.L.Miller Writes on our channel. And it looks like he's ready to join us again. So we'll try one more time.
I'm really loving our new microphones. How does everyone
I
like the
am
mics?
too.
Well, there we
Mark,
go.
hello. Can you hear us?
Mark, got a killer clowns shirt on.
Yes, yes, you gotta represent.
You have a shirt of probably my favorite horror movie ever. I just bought a bunch of Killer Clown from Outer Space Funko Pops. I don't know if you're into. Obviously, you can see this is my lair that we work
Yeah.
together in, and I have a problem. Um, I
Whoops.
click.
Okay, now I can do it. Now I can hear you guys. Are you
Okay.
Awesome.
guys? You guys
Yep.
there?
Yeah,
Yep,
we're
we can
here.
hear you.
Great. Okay, I had it on. I had it on YouTube, and so I was. It was.
Oh,
There's a little bit of a delay, so it's. So it was freaking
Yeah,
me out there. I thought it
yeah.
was
The
in
delay's a little will get you, man.
yeah. We had John Klein in our audience. We're kind of monitoring the chat here, so if you aren't able to look at YouTube and you can just be on the call, but John Klein says hello. He's one of our loyal uh, followers here on Kings of Horror, supporters, followers.
Hey,
So,
John.
um, but I was actually just giving you a little bit of an introduction, and now I'll do it properly since you're here.
Okay.
So Mark Miller is a contributor here on the channel and a fantastic writer who I learned about you, Mark, when you used to write for Ain't It Cool News.
Hmm.
And when you did that, you were kind of the head of the horror department in that sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of did it because no one else wanted to do it. They were all kind of chasing the big blockbusters over there, and I was more of the guy that was. I was the guy that rented all of the videos, in the video store back when there used to be video stores. I would just go down the aisle and rent every every low budget movie, every big budget movie. It really didn't matter to me, and so that sort of snowballed into me doing my own column over there, focusing a lot on indie horror, but really on any kind of horror. There were we reviewed horror books, we reviewed horror TV shows, all kinds of different things. But I try to keep it to movies because if I go past that, it's such a giant world of the horror genre. It's, you go crazy.
Right.
You can't cover it all, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was very much like you growing up, where I was just like I just wanted to rent every horror movie in the horror section at my video store.
Yeah, yeah,
And every week it was just I'd grab. My mom would take me down, and I would just grab. She'd let me grab three at a time. I think there used to be like a deal if you got three, two
yeah.
get one free, or
Yeah, we
three
always
one get.
had
I
the
can't
deals.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We would do that. It was always something fun for the family, and then there was something my brother wanted, and then I would get a horror movie in there somewhere. And so they would go to bed, or they would stay up and fall asleep, and I would just watch horror all night long. It was a lot of fun. It was a
yeah.
great formative years, you know.
What do you think? How old were you when you first started watching horror films?
I was pretty young, but I think I was sort of indoctrinated into just the afternoon, like the Saturday afternoon kind of creep shows that would be on. There was a guy named Dr. Creep who would, in my area in Ohio, he would introduce horror movies, and he would just kind of come out and talk, kind of like what Elvira does or what Joe Bob Briggs does. But
Right.
we had Dr. Creep, and we also had Fritz the Night Owl, who was on really late. And sometimes when I was at my grandparents, or just sneaking out at home to turn on the TV really low and sneak up, get really close to it and listen, I would watch Fritz the Night Owl, and it would always be like some like vampires from outer space, or like some Hammer film or something like that. So it
Right.
was like TV friendly horror. And
Right.
then as soon as I got into like the video stores and that started booming, like in the 90s and the late 80s, that's when I started watching like all that, all just pretty much everything and anything. And my mom just kind of was pretty lax about it. They would say, no, you got to have an adult with you. And I was like, my mom's right here. And she was like, yeah, he's ghoulish, just whatever, it's nothing's gonna phase him. So
Cool.
Yeah, my mom was really cool about it too. Back then, I think when we were younger, I think we're all similar in age or close, but it was just a whole like kids just watched horror movies. I mean,
mhm.
wasn't weird or worrisome. I don't think. But I also in Vegas we had this guy called Count Cool Rider,
Oh, cool.
and he was one that, and then Elvira would come on certain channels. I don't even remember how, but I remember watching her a lot when I was young and watching Count Cool Rider, who would do countdowns, and it's just the same thing. It was interesting to me to realize this, and I didn't realize this till probably maybe even less than a year ago, that like Count Cool Rider wasn't a nationwide thing, and that
Yeah.
all these little towns like what you're talking about, we all had. Did you have anyone like that, Justin? Was there anyone
No,
where
we
you were
didn't
growing
have.
up?
I mean, us. Yeah, no, we didn't
You
have
had a
anything.
small
We didn't
city.
have any TV, really. We just had a. I did a little interview last week on this thing, and the video store. We moved to the small town here in Nevada, Round Mountain. The video store when I first moved there in '87, it was in the people's house. It was called Augie Trogs. It was in their house. They'd be eating dinner, and their movie shelf would be like right next to their dinner table. And you'd walk in, and like nothing, it was very normal to just go in there and they'd be eating dinner. And they would actually have like the real rental movies. It wasn't just like their personal collection. They would have, they would pay a few $100s for one, for the one copy it was. And yeah, that was it. It was like so. No, I grew up with no cable, up until like I was like sixth grade, I think is when we actually got like cable,
Yeah.
um, and like DirecTV. But yeah, no, we didn't have any of the regional hosts. And I did a little gig in Detroit a few years back. That was about 10 years ago. And I didn't realize it all, like what Mike was saying. I didn't realize all the regional, hosts that every region had. And I thought that was a cool thing.
It would be
Yeah.
cool to see a list of all those people.
Yeah. 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 Well, I know that I think Elvira was out of Chicago, and right
Oh,
now
okay.
we have Sven Gulli in Chicago now. But I moved to Chicago in 2000, and so I all my all the younger years was just me watching stuff in Ohio. And it's a pretty small, like kind of we didn't have a lot of. I remember that my dad used to have a coat hanger on the back of the television, and he would wrap it in tinfoil, and somehow that would allow us to get Showtime and some of the other cable channels.
That's
Oh
awesome.
And
wow.
it's like, I guess it's like totally illegal, but I think, he passed away a while back, so I don't think he's going to jail or
Yeah.
anything. And hopefully that doesn't inherit
I'm sure
down. But
all our parents probably did something like crazy like that.
yeah,
We had a black box. We had the little black
uh-huh.
box that was on the back of our massive TV that
Hmm.
or heavy TV. I guess it wasn't really that big, but it
Yeah,
was like you would just flip a little switch and it would give you the signal, but it would only give you one thing. And so for a long time it was HBO. That's what we got. But then it
yeah.
would go off, and then you would just check it again, maybe in like a month, and turn it back on, and it would just like have Showtime or some other different thing. Uh, and I remember one day I was a young kid, and we were all swimming in our swimming. We were swimming, doing like night swimming, right? And I came in. I think I went to the bathroom. I don't know, but I came in the front room, and I flipped it on to see if it was working, and it was Heavy Metal, the cartoon Heavy Metal.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and I was like, I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Like it was, you know, and I felt like I was looking out, for my mom and dad to make sure it wasn't gonna get busted, or my little sisters, because it was like, full nudity and
Yeah,
violence, weird. I mean, that's a weird movie for a little kid to see, and I was
yeah.
pretty little.
Yeah, you see
I re-
a cartoon, it's like, oh, this is supposed to be like,
Yeah,
what is this?
yeah, I'm just watching kids cartoons, Mom. Don't worry about
yeah,
it. Yeah. Yeah, I remember sneaking and looking at Heavy Metal magazine in the store, and it's like we could never buy it, but we would sneak and look at it, my brother and I, and we would giggle at all the, like, the naked people and
yeah.
just all the weird stuff that was going on in there, but it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Those were the good days, like when you had to like seek that stuff out. Poor kids today just have it on their phone
Yeah, yeah, there's
and
no
and jump
sneakiness
past
to
the
it.
start, like it goes straight to weird fast.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it
Yeah.
was super fun. And you were talking about earlier about like kind of sneaking in and listening to the shows and watching them. I
Mhm.
we were allowed to watch. I was allowed to watch pretty much everything, but for some reason, when Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, like it was at my buddy's house, and I remember his mom was watching, but there was kind of like, this one's a little much. Like they wouldn't let us watch it.
Yeah.
I remember us sneaking in behind their couch, and I watched I, a small port. That was the only movie that really like gave me full blown nightmares fast.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch any more of that movie.
Yeah, I think there were a few movies that it's not that they didn't allow us to see it, but it was that we would tap out. We would be like, nope, we're leaving. We're out of here. Like The Exorcist was one of them. I don't think I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre until later on. I think I was a teenager when I saw that one, but um, usually when there was like gratuitous nudity, my mom would tell us to go, or
Right.
they would turn the channel. But other than that, like blood was totally okay. It wasn't really.
Yeah. Justin and I were
But
chatting about that the other day.
yeah,
It's kind of funny how like, and I think that's still a thing too. They're like, well, is there nudity in it? Is there sex in it? And you're like, yeah, well, no, they can't watch that. But there's a
yeah,
lot of killing in it. That's all right. Yeah.
yeah. I yeah.
Parents had a hard rule on nudity, but
The shooting
mass
games,
murder
I
was
guess
okay.
it's desensitized everybody, just having like a first person shooter game that just
Yeah.
everybody's okay with death, I guess.
Like RoboCop, man. It was like in the 80s.
Yep.
My dad was pissed. I watched RoboCop though. That was one non-horror violent one. He was just, why the hell did you watch RoboCop? 'Cause that was a pretty intense one as far as gun violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would categorize that as horror. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
Yeah. It's
like
like
when that
sci-fi
guy
horror,
he
Predator
gets the toxic waste put all over him and he's melting and they hit him with a
with the
car and he just
car.
explodes. It's just amazing. Yeah. And
Even
even when he gets it's kind of like a revenge movie because he gets his hand shot off there. And I think I must have seen the bloody version of it before they kind of cut it down. I don't know why I saw that one, but I remember it being really bloody. And then I went to see it. I saw it on television, and they had edited all the gory stuff out of it, and it was such a tame kind of version of the
right.
yeah.
film
The
that
whole first act of the movie. I mean, well, in the last two, but like the whole first act when he's like trying, when they're attacking him, it's just it's intense.
Mhm.
So I can only
Yeah.
imagine what like it was a 15-minute probably cut down version for
Yeah,
TV.
yeah. I mean, it's so tame. I mean, yeah, the guy. I guess I'm trying to remember it now, but I know they didn't show the hand getting shot off,
Right.
and all of the other things that when he got basically when he got assaulted. And then yeah, that last scene with the slime guy, I think that was cut all to hell
Yeah.
too.
That was a great scene too.
Yeah, yeah,
John
RoboCop's
Klein
good.
says he saw that on the big screen. I can't remember if I did see that one. I might have saw that in the theater, but I definitely probably shouldn't have. Um, I can't remember. We weren't really. They didn't. My parents didn't take me to the theaters to see horror movies too much, but every now and then we would sneak into one. Um,
Yeah.
Funny story about that. That's not really related, but talking about kids sneaking into horror movies. Well, one of my good friends, they went to go see Saw, the original Saw, when it first came out, and so, all of us remember that. I don't think Justin's seen it yet. We won't talk about that. But no, but so we he was in there, and right before the movie started, the theater attendants came in and pulled these two kids out because they had snuck in, and the kids turned to the audience and tell everyone about to watch this movie. Just the end of that movie.
Oh man.
It's like, how messed up is that? My buddy was like, I didn't even know if I believed it. Like, he's like, I didn't really. He's like, but then as it got closer, he's like, it's just like, what a good movie to get ruined.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that. I
Yeah,
really hate spoilers. I can't
I do
take
too, man.
I can't take it. I try to I mean, when I'm writing my reviews, I really try to avoid major spoilers, but
Hmm.
sometimes it's like so much happens in the movie that you want to recap a movie a little bit, but you don't want to recap it basically word for word of scene for scene. So it's really a hard tightrope to walk because you want to let people know about what's cool about it, but you
Right.
also don't want to just ruin it for them. So
Yeah.
it's weird.
What got you started with like wanting to do movie reviews to get into that?
I think a couple of things. I I just always loved film, and I went to school at Ohio State, and I took some classes there of film criticism and film studies and things like that. So that kind of got me to the point where I was like looking at films from a different way.
Hmm.
I'd always liked listening to Roger Ebert talk about movies, and I had been to a couple of his special events there. I remember seeing Martin Scorsese there, and it was Martin
Oh
Scorsese and
wow.
Roger Ebert there talking about his kind of catalog of movies, and it was just great for him to be one of the things that I notice about film criticism right now is that um, it, people have like one kind of niche that they look at and they kind of dissect with, and I find that really boring. I think that movies are so broad that you can look at it from a feminist point of view, you can look at it from a just a metaphorical point of view. There could be like kind of Freudian where it's like, everything's a penis,
Right.
or you can just kind of look at it from a cultural way of the way things are right now and how this is a response to the culture. I love kind of knowing what era the movie is made in if I'm looking at older films, because then you can kind of know that um, Dawn of the Dead, the original George Romero one, was about all of the consumerism in the 80s,
Right.
and um, and just you can kind of pick up on trends and things like that with society. But people who just say just kind of review with just like one of those tools, I think that you're not using your entire toolkit. So
Right.
I just try to sort of look at things and look for themes and look for I don't know. I'm also really interested in the artists themselves. So the director, what the director's trying to say. Sometimes it's successful in the movie, but and other times it's not. But you kind of applaud what the idea was of the movie. It's one of those things where I might not have liked the movie, but it had some really cool ideas, or it had
Right.
there's something about it that made me smile or made me laugh or scared me or whatever. So that's kind of what I try to do. I try to be as positive as possible too.
You do a good job at that too. You really do. That's what hooked me with your writing, like, long before I met you. Was like, I don't like reading criticisms that are just like pretentious and rude, and like, or just, like you said, it like coming from it from one space of like, no, this is just a bad movie, I don't like it. Like, and whenever I had read your reviews and the things that you'd done for Ain't It Cool News, it was always, I felt very subjective, and also like you found value in even the worst things of like, like
yeah.
what was cool, and also you do a really good job about like reviewing something based on what it is. Like if it's a
Mhm.
$5,000 movie or if it's a $5 million movie, like you can't hold them to
Yeah.
the same standard.
Yeah, you can't fault them for not having the money. I mean, I think that's I know that there are and I started out doing a lot of the reviews as just reviewing comic books and just really kind of dissecting comics and getting into how they're made and doing and how just the technique of it, and then certain trends and just certain factors that happen in with specific writers. There are a lot of comic book writers that are a lot like Tarantino and Kevin Smith and those guys, where their writing style is, you can just sort of look at the comic book page and you can see it, just like how you can watch a Kevin Smith movie and you know it's Kevin Smith, or a Tarantino movie is always just kind of a signature Tarantino. Same thing kind of with Argento and George Romero for the most part. There's just something about the quality of those films that it's it's either a really good ripoff of that director's
Right.
stuff, or it's that director. So and I guess you can liken that to any type of sort of media, like music. If you hear something, it might not be the song, but you can tell it's like I don't know, an Ozzy song, or
Right.
or Tom Waits, or Radiohead, or whatever, whatever band it is, you can just tell that's who it is. Just because it's got those sort of key factors that you've
It-
been
as you're talking
looking
about like
at.
those different filmmakers and them kind of, knowing, I feel, well, I don't know, maybe this isn't true now that I'm thinking it through, but like, I feel like John Carpenter is very much, even though he does so many different things, I always know it's John Carpenter,
Yeah,
but I still feel like with Wes Craven, I'll stumble onto something that I'm like, oh, I feel like Wes Craven was kind of all over the place.
yeah, yeah,
Like some
yeah,
stuff that he did was just like, oh, like that is Wes Craven too. Like he tried so many cool different things, and some fell really flat for me, and others
yeah.
were
I mean, I think a lot of those big names, they've made some really classic movies, but they've also made some really shitty movies. Just
right.
just I mean, Ghosts of Mars, and I liked People Under the Stairs, but it looked like crap. I think it looked like it was being filmed like a almost like a soap opera. I mean, it was just very clean, and I wanted it to be a gritty kind of I don't know, Assault on Precinct 13 or a Last House on the Left or something. I think it would have
Right.
worked if it didn't seem like it was filmed on a Hollywood set. And it was filmed, or it was like, or the effects weren't as clean as they looked. I hear Jordan Peele is remaking that, or producing it, the remake of it,
Really?
which that'll be really interesting to see, because it definitely had racial aspects to it, but it also I think it also has some really cool, like, just aspects of horror that I really like. Just I like there being different kinds of horrors and different levels of horrors, where there's a bad guy, but then there's an even deeper bad guy going on,
Right.
and then maybe even the devil shows up.
Right.
It's like I think I noticed that mainly in the Clive Barker films. He would have he would have like in Hellraiser, there's the wife, who I'm blanking on the name of right now, but the who's cheating on Frank Cotton, uh,
Uh-huh.
or cheating on the father, and then there's Frank, and but then there's also the Cenobites, and there's also this monster in the hallway, and there's all of these different elements that sort of come together, and I love that. That's just one of the aspects of horror that I love, that you can sort of just pile on the evil, and it feels like a roller coaster. It doesn't feel like a mess.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just because it works at all of it works at scaring you, hopefully.
Yeah. And
So,
entertaining. And I always thought that Clive Barker, like his movies are one of the ones that actually really scared me. Like
Yeah, I stayed
you-
away from like
they
Hellraiser.
scared the shit out of me.
yeah.
And like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, all this stuff was like stuff that I could digest even as a child. Hellraiser, I just remember seeing the cover, and yeah, I literally stayed away from it. It just was like there's a different level of like horror from some of his stuff.
Well, and even thinking back on Hellraiser, I feel like the way I remember it is with the Hellraiser movies, it was more of like that introduction to true gore.
Hmm.
Like a lot of the other stuff was fun gore, but like, and
Yeah.
that's probably what freaked me out so much is like when they were ripping skin off and doing things, it was like felt real. and
Yeah.
very scary.
Well, I think it also threw in like religious iconography and also just S&M and bondage and stuff, and that felt like naughty and all this kind of weird stuff. And
Right.
like as a kid, I was like, I had no idea what any of that stuff was.
Yeah.
Why are they wearing leather? Why are they,
Yeah.
what's going on with these chains and straps? But it had that kind of quality of like I might not have understood it, but I knew it was wrong, and just it made you feel weird watching it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. It made me feel very uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah,
Like
you don't want to watch that with your mom or anything.
no, no.
Which it's funny. My brother was just telling me this story about how he, um, whenever we go home, my mom loves to watch movies as well, and we he went to go see Wolf of Wall Street with my mom, which is a pretty gratuitous, it has some pretty gratuitous sex scenes and drug use, and he's sitting there next to my mom in the movie theater, and he's not looking at her, he's just looking straight at the screen and just not giving any reaction. But
One of
it's
my really good friends, Sean, Justin's friends with as well. He took his mom. They would, occasionally go to see a movie, and
mhm.
they went to go see Wolf of Wall Street. He called me afterwards. He's like, because I think it starts pretty bad, right? Doesn't he do like a line of coke off her somewhere
I think he
early on?
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it starts out. I haven't seen it in a long time,
I
or
haven't
I don't
either.
know
I
if I've
saw it in the
seen the
theater.
entire movie. That's one of the things. I don't get to see normal movies anymore. It's always horror these days. But
Right.
every now and then I'll venture out of there. I saw Knives Out, which was cool. I watched the Marvel movies and like Star Wars and some key sci-fi movies, but most of the time it's horror, so I don't get to see like just normal stuff that normal people watch, I guess.
Yeah, I've gotten more into that too. It seems like if I finally have a little extra time, I either watch kind of what you said, Star Wars or Marvel, or
Hmm.
I go to a TV show or something. It's like
Mhm.
that's my only. I don't get a chance to watch normal movies that I used to
Kind
like
of
to
that's
watch.
what's. I mean, that's a lot of. I mean, that's what fills the theaters now is Marvel and Star Wars. As much as we love it,
Hmm.
but me and Mike were talking, and let's get your opinion on this, Mark. Where do you kind of think horror in terms of theatrical, bigger budget stuff is going to go after kind of this kind of period in time that we're going through? Do you think horror is going to have a little transition in certain different aspects, or what do you kind of see
Well,
on
it's
that end?
weird because the last year I just finished up my countdown for like the best of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking over all my picks and what I had to pick from, and then my picks and what some other people are probably going to be putting on their list for the best of the year. And there was a lot of really good horror that came out this year. I think in like trying times, when there's a, a lot of just stuff going on in the news, I think horror really does a good job of you can really tell some interesting stories using just elements of that. I just recently saw Host, it's on Shutter, and it uses Zoom meetings, and it's about basically a Zoom call that gets kind of haunted by a demon, and each person, it's like if all of a sudden one of our screens goes black, and then you hear somebody screaming and throwing and getting thrown around. And I just thought that was ingenious that they were able to come up with that idea in such a short time, because Zoom
Right.
wasn't really even a thing in the public consciousness until like what, 6 months ago or eight
Yeah,
Yeah.
months ago.
right
And
before this whole thing started.
yeah, but somebody was genius enough to kind of put that together and just really get it out there, and they did it really cheaply, and they and but it to me it was one of the better movies of the year, just because they were able to um I think one of the things that works with horror is that just the unknown, and you don't have to have the biggest effects. And a lot of times, as with like Carpenter's Prince of Darkness or some other movies, you don't the less you see, the better,
Yeah,
of what that horror is, and it's still really scary. And I do think that you don't have to have that big budget to do it, and sometimes I think it ruins it for you. I mean, we've all seen these directors that they make it big, and then they try to make that big budget horror film, and it just looks too clean and too polished, and too many right angles and all of that stuff.
right.
That just doesn't it doesn't sell well to horror. I think you need that kind of grungy, do-it-yourself aspect to it to really make it work.
Right, right.
Yeah, and like what you can see as they get bigger too, you can feel like the heavy hand of the studio coming in and going like,
Yeah,
maybe it would be better if we used a sports car here, and like
yeah,
just like things that don't really have anything to do with story that
yeah.
you don't deal with when you're
Let's do a
making small
cameo.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah,
put a
let's
car
have like
chase.
a like Buster. Let's put Buster Rhymes in
Yeah,
the movie just for no reason at all.
yeah,
Um,
he feels like he fits in. It's Halloween, right? It's great.
yeah, yeah, that was, oh God,
Was
I
it
saw that in the
Resurrection?
theater.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that was just so bad. And I remember someone was saying that all of those slasher movies work as long as you don't make them the joke. You've got to have that character be the threat, and you can't just joke, like make fun of them. And as soon as you do that, you lose the audience, and you also kind of the monster just loses its kind of the illusion of just being this ominous, horrible thing that
Yep.
can't be stopped. And I think they did it in. I remember them doing it in Freddy versus Jason. I think Kelly Rowland says something to Freddy or Jason, one of them, and just kind of makes fun of them,
Right.
and it really just didn't sell well. I think just because they brought in that thing where um, unless they're beating them at the end and you say you're
Right.
pathetic and weak. I kind of liked that aspect of it, the end of it. I wasn't a big fan of the movie, but at the very end of it, when they kind of whittle him down to nothing because I guess he was about bullying and they were sort of bullying him back, and that's what kind of beat him in the end. Spoilers.
Right.
But it's I do think that there has to be that seriousness that goes on with the killer. But still, one of my favorite Friday the 13th is part 6, and it's pretty comedic all the way through, the Jason Lives one,
Yeah.
where I laughed all the way through that, and there are a lot of funny jokes, but they still keep Jason scary through the whole thing,
Is
and
that the
that's
one
what
that
makes it
starts
work.
with they go dig him up and
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
like one of my favorites too. And you're right that one does have a lot of like comedic moments in it, but it's all good stuff. It's not.
yeah, yeah.
It doesn't.
And also, I think that people try to just throw in humor, and it's just not funny. I also the lower the budget, I think they can be funny on a more crass level, and I think that helps because I think that crass humor fits in with horror really well. I saw that you guys premiered The Night of Something Strange
Yeah.
in on the channel, and I love that movie. I think it's hilarious all the way through. But there were people that said, "Oh, that went way too far. I don't know if I can take this stuff." And
If
just
you make it through the first 5 minutes, you'll make it through the movie. But
yeah,
I would
yeah.
imagine it loses a lot of people after. It has a hard first 5 or first 10.
Oh yeah, yeah. And all the way through, really, it's gory. I mean, so
Yeah.
gory all the way through, and I think that's hard for some folks, but not me. I don't know. What do you guys think of like extreme gore like that? Are you
For me,
fans of
that
it
for
or?
that movie was for it was personally it was the bathroom stuff. Cutting into
Mhm.
the bathroom stuff like that, and that was like even for like The Exorcist for me the vomit was the worst part of that. I remember watching that at 8 years old with this girl named Brittany. She would watch as our parents would be hanging out on loop. We'd have The Exorcist on loop, but it was the as far as extreme violence, yeah, it was. I think like with that 90 something strange, it, it was fun. The film was fun
Mhm.
definitely, and it was intense. But yeah, for me it was the bathroom. All the I was like I could stay away from
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those
Oh
bathroom
yeah,
scenes are
the
rough.
bathroom's pretty. Yeah, that was pretty raw.
I like that stuff a lot though. Like I understand why people don't, but for me, it's like I don't know that getting that little bit of a charge out of me, like where I see, it, I was like, Jesus, you're like that's the only jumps that I get anymore. Really, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
get
you're
scared
right.
that much. So like that's I think me and you have talked once before, Mark, about Greasy Strangler.
Oh, you God, yeah,
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 like and that one is just like I mean, it's not even scary or anything, but it's just so good and so gross.
yeah. I tricked a friend into going to that, and yeah, she was not too happy about that. Not a good one, but
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Oh, I
All of the
love
stuff.
it.
But
Love it. So the best
and
dialogue in any movie I've ever seen.
yeah, and there's a new movie out this past year called Butt Boy that is really funny, and it's basically about a guy who his ass becomes a portal to another dimension, and so he likes to stick stuff up his ass. And and he gets some, and so he starts out with just like small things like I don't know, there's like a thimble or just something really small that he puts up there, and then he puts the dog up there. And then pretty soon he's abducting kids from the park because he
Oh
gets
my
this
god.
thrill. And so they treat it like it's this serious cop drama about this cop tracking down this kidnapper or this serial killer. They don't know what's happening to all these things, and they treat it very seriously. But yeah, it's so ridiculous. And
Oh, I gotta watch that.
there's a scene where the butt boy is trying to the cop is trying to get away from him, and he's pulling, he gets in the car and he's trying to drive away, and butt boy just sort of bends over, and the wheels of the car are skidding because he's trying to suck the car up into his ass. It's just so
Uh,
ludicrous, but they play it just right straight forward, just kind of like Greasy Strangler, like this is not weird, this is just, this is just life, and we're just playing it that way. And it's just the sheer ludicrous stuff that goes on there. That's what really makes it sort of fun to watch, I guess.
yeah, I have to watch
Yeah,
that one. Um,
yeah, it's a wild one.
one thing I want to go back to is when you were talking about um Halloween. When we were chatting about Halloween, I want to get your opinion. Do you remember seeing? I think it's Halloween 4 or 5.
Mhm.
And did you watch it as a kid in the theaters? Like, do you
Yeah,
remember the end of that one? That's is it 4 or 5? The one where he's being followed throughout.
5, I think, right?
yeah, that's five. Yeah, yeah, by
What?
the guy in black.
Yeah, the guy in black
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
smoking cigarettes, and at the
Uh-huh.
end, he goes into the jail. And I remember me and my buddy who I grew up on horror movies with. We went and saw that movie, and when we came out of that, we were so mind blown by like,
Yeah,
holy cow! Like, what does this mean? What is going
yeah,
to happen? Like, I don't know that there's ever been a horror cliffhanger like that since. But
yeah.
also came back and was literally the most depressing, or like let me down in such a big way. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was great. It could have been anything, It could have been it could have been Snake Plissken, who knows what it
right?
could have been. But
Yeah.
yeah, they really dropped the ball on that one.
It felt
I,
like they had some big ideas,
yeah, yeah.
and
I would like to see. I think there's like a book or a documentary out about the unmade Halloween movies, and I've seen a
oh
couple
wow,
videos on YouTube about unmade Friday the 13th movies, and the same thing with Nightmare on
Well,
Elm Street and all that stuff.
the
Uh,
Halloween right afterwards on the Halloween the Paul Rudd one,
6.
they tried to close that
mhm.
story up. And they
Yeah,
just a few years back they released that producer's cut that kind of finished that whole weird side storyline from part 5.
yeah,
So, and I
and
still need to watch that.
there's a new cut that's going around right now on YouTube that's a fan made one, and so they're saying that I've just heard that that's a really good cut of it as well. That it takes just all the best aspects of both of those films and just kind of makes them more cohesive
Oh
and
wow,
scary story.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the follow up just really messed things up right from the beginning when they didn't bring back Danielle Harris, because she was such a great part of that. She was a worthy kind of replacement for Jamie Lee Curtis,
yeah,
Mhm.
and they just kind of missed the boat on making that a nice trilogy of with her.
Yep.
Just like how they're doing it now, I guess, with Halloween, and they're bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis and everybody. But I think that one, to me, that hit me at the right age. I was just it was one of the few ones that really felt connected, even though they were making it up obviously as they were going along,
right.
but it felt connected, and I felt that way about the first 4 or 5 or 6 Friday the 13th movies as well. It just, that interconnectivity, it made you feel like you were a part of something. I think people are realizing that with the success of the Marvel movies, that having a franchise and actually not making it just one and dones for each installment um, that really helps build momentum. And now that there's streaming services and all these other ways to get these movies, I think they can go back and they don't have to be afraid that people are not going to watch the first episode of
Right.
a series if that's what you were going for.
And it
But
doesn't give them the same, like with the Marvel movies. You don't have the same pressure to like pump out Spider-Man 7 or Captain America 5, like, like, because the story continues, and in this thing, it's a little more of the, it just makes for better storytelling. And
yeah, yeah.
like,
I mean, with that, I think it's just a broader universe, and they're
right,
using the probably one of the best universes in fiction, just with the Marvel comics to kind of pull from. But I definitely think that as big as horror is, they could definitely do something like a I don't know, Jason versus vampires, or just something
I'll
weird
watch it.
like that. I would love to see Freddy versus some type of otherworldly menace, that it might not be bringing like I don't know, Chucky in or any of that stuff, but still you could actually have fun with just horror tropes that you normally see.
Right,
And I mean, what if Freddy is like goes into a dream, and in that dream someone is even more darker and more evil than he is.
right.
That's kind of like a cool story to kind of go with. But it's I don't know. There are so many little avenues that you can go down with that stuff, and it's kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking by looking at the
Right.
movies that they made. But still, I think there's so much potential in those slasher movies, and I have such a soft spot for those films from the '80s. And as
Yeah.
flawed as they are, I even liked Halloween 6. I mean parts of
Yeah.
it at least. And
Well,
it was
and
Loomis's last movie, so that was kind of it. It makes it kind of special, I guess. And you got Paul Rudd in there, which is
Was that
kind
the
of
first
funny to
one
see.
with Miramax or Dimension, or was
It
it,
might have been. I think so. Yeah, there was
or
that time. It's weird that Miramax, yeah, Dimension. It was either that or Resurrection, which was going on like right after that. But
well,
or no,
H2O
maybe
was
not,
after
because
H2O was after Curse of Michael Myers, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
those
H2O. So,
definitely were.
and that was Sean Cunningham, and I wasn't a huge fan of that one. Again, it felt too clean. Like
yeah,
everything was polished. Everything had that. Uh, just that kind of sheen to it, that it looked like a soap opera to me, just the way it was filmed. It was
it
just
looked like
very
a studio produced horror movie that was
hmm
not
yeah,
necessarily supposed to be, which is, and I'm not trying to be the guy that knocks that stuff, because I like everything really, but it
yeah,
just didn't feel right for the franchise.
yeah,
I'll be honest
yeah.
with you. I think that actually H2O got me back into Halloween.
Really.
Like, yeah, and seeing Jamie Lee Curtis, and like, because I think I am a little younger than Mike. And my age, I was junior high when
hmm
H2O came out, and so like those type of movies, the movie The Faculty, like that. There's those, the teen kind of Scream movies, Scream, Faculty, Halloween,
yeah,
H2O. They all kind of fit into this, high school teenager '90s things, and I think looking back, some of them are good, hold up better than others. But I think in that time, I think it at least reinvigorated some of that generation to kind of keep up Michael Myers a little bit.
yeah. I mean, it definitely helped like pass the baton and keep it going, which is great. um it just wasn't my one of my favorites
Yeah.
Yeah,
of the series. I definitely think some people don't like 4. I don't know why. I really like that one, but I remember
I
seeing
love
it.
4.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in the theaters, and I was just pumped for it because it was like you hadn't seen Michael Myers in such a long time, and I felt that they did a lot right. But I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not.
Well, I
But
I
think it
love.
is, because I think that's the reason why I think 4 is actually, I think they rushed 5 because
mhm,
of 4. And I
yeah,
think that the whole 5 just ended up being unraveling, story wise. But I enjoyed 4. I think 4 and 5 are also have a little Halloween as far as the big three, them Jason and Nightmare. That's kind
mhm,
of my thing. But yeah, 4 and
yeah.
5 kind of have their own special part.
Yeah. And it's weird. It is that I think it's the first one you see in a movie theater, or the first one that you see um, just maybe at a party at home with your friends, and it stands out. I remember watching um, uh, Nightmare on Elm Street on video cassette with my brother, and my mom was having a like a sorority meeting with all these ladies in the other room, and they were like laughing and drinking wine and everything, and they were in the other room, and my brother and I were watching this movie that just blew our minds, and we were so scared, and we were jumping up and down on the couch. We were like going, run, run, you know. It was just so great to see that movie for the first time. And I'll remember that experience like for the rest of my life, and that I'll
Right.
always associate that with that movie, which if you see a classic movie like that, it does cement itself into your head
Right.
like that. um,
You know what?
but
One of the scariest movies was for like an experience, kind of like what you're talking about, but also scared me was one night. I was probably like 17 or 18, so old enough to not be that scared and not scared by movies very much. But late one night, I was just up by myself, super late, and I was flipping through the channels, and I came across Student Bodies, and I had never seen it.
yeah,
And that movie scared the crap out of me because I hadn't really been exposed to a movie like that. I was
yeah,
like, couldn't figure out like if it was supposed to be funny or
yeah,
terrifying. And it
yeah.
was really funny, but it was also like that, just that perspective of the killer that was constantly like breathing heavy. And like,
Hmm.
I don't know why that movie that night like was just like, I hadn't been creeped out probably before or since by a movie. It was just such an unexpected experience.
It's got a weird tone. Yeah, I remember seeing that as a very young age too, and I wasn't sure. I think there's like a level of there's a skeeziness to it as
Yeah,
well. That you just the guy's wearing like a bag over his head, like isn't a paper bag over his head? Is that what he's
I think
there?
so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and I got the same thing with Black Christmas the first time I saw that, and I was at my house. It was everyone else had gone to bed, and it was playing on like on some channel. I'm not sure if it was like HBO or Showtime or one of those, and I'd never seen it before, and it just blew my mind. I was terrified at Black Christmas, and it's still that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I think that it's just one of those things that everything worked. The humor is off, kind of the same way it is in Student Bodies. It's like
right.
that kind of just weird humor that just feels out of place in like the context of the movie. It also like Motel Hell is kind of like that as well. It's like there's humor in it, but it just feels like a off kilter humor that doesn't work all the time, but it just adds another layer of
They also
oddity
feel
to
like
it.
somebody whoever made it or wrote it or whatever, it feels like is a weird kind of scary person. Like that was like
Yeah,
when I was
yeah,
Well,
watching
Black
those.
Christmas was a Christmas Story director.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, this
Same
was
guy.
kind of
Yeah, and
crazy.
he also did Porky's, I think. And
Oh
so it's like
wow.
he's like all over the place. He does like family movies, like raunchy comedies and this and like teen horror. Um I think his first movie, it's Bob Clark.
Bob
And
Clark. Yeah.
his first movie was Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And I still haven't seen that, but
I haven't either.
apparently it's pretty rough, but I still haven't sat through that one yet. But
I'll
yeah,
have to watch
there's
that. And maybe next time we have a conversation, we can talk a little about it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what I do want to talk about before I forget, because we've gone on pretty long. I mean, we can go on as long as we want to go on, but
Yeah.
there's nobody turning us off, hopefully. Uh,
Okay.
but I wanted
That's
to
good.
talk to you a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing. I posted a link here in the description for your
Okay.
comic book pirouette.
Cool.
But that's the trade is coming out for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the trade's coming out November 18th. That's just 1 week away. That's a book that we started out. Um, God, it was years ago. Carlos Granda, who's a fantastic artist, he and I just sort of met when I was working on a comic book called The Jungle Book, and I did a version of that where it was just more of a high adventure. It had aspects of horror to it as well, but it was for Zenoscope, and I think it's still in print. I think people can still get that from Zenoscope Entertainment. And I compared that to it's basically Game of Thrones with animals, and it's just like different animal tribes warring to be the I guess the king tribe on this island. There's
Awesome.
like a Lord of the Flies aspect to it, and four kids are stranded on this island. One of them's Mowgli, and there's a wolf tribe, there's a tiger tribe, there's a monkey tribe, and then there's a like a small animals tribe. So which is the tribe Tavi. So it's got all kinds of Rudyard Kipling kind of references. So it's like Ricky Tikki Tavi's in there, and some of the other stories that Rudyard Kipling did. But I did that for a while, and this guy named Carlos Granda and I really worked well together. By the end of the series, he was like reading my mind about the way I wanted things to look. And so when this opportunity for Pirouette came up, he was the artist that I wanted to go with. And he was just really able to capture like horror story that takes place in a circus, that basically is a clown who grew up in the circus, and she wants to move away, or she wants to run away from the circus rather than someone running away and joining the circus. So she's already in it. She's like a really talented clown, and she's also a really talented trapeze artist. But her family doesn't allow her to go onto the trapeze because clowns were meant to be on the ground and entertaining the folks. They weren't. They have other people that do the trapeze stuff, and so there's a lot of just basically it's a story about wanting something and dreaming about something, and then figuring out like how to get that, and kind of dealing with defeat, dealing with the hurdles that life sort of throws at you. But it's all set with like scary clowns and just adventure, a lot of tragedy, a lot of emotional trauma. And so it's a wild book. But it we did that a couple of years ago, but we never got the entire thing published. So this is now, it's going to be out for the first time. All four issues are out together. We have a lot of extra stuff in there as well, like sketches. Carlos Grandes has a sketchbook that he put in there. I put in a couple of notes just about the production of the story, and so it's a fun book. And yeah, it'll be out next Wednesday in comic book stores. And if there
So
wasn't a COVID thing right now, I would have
I'll go to
I would
comic
be
book stores.
signing. Yeah, I'd be trying to
Yeah.
do some signings, but we don't do that right now. So
They have been doing like virtual signings. I've been seeing some of that going
yeah, I
on.
wish I could. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
just like, draw on the screen and just put your comic up to the camera. And but yeah, but that came out. And then last month I had Grave Trancers come out, which is another horror comic. This one is about a graveyard that manufactures a drug from the remains of corpses, of the corpses that come into their graveyard, and then they sell it out behind their cemetery. And there's a pair of kids, a pair of kids who are looking for closure for their father's grave. They want to see their father's grave, and they end up kind of stumbling on this organization. And it's kind of has like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe, because the family's all really weird, and each of them have their own kind of quirks and weird
That's
eccentricities.
I
So
did get a chance to read that one. You got me the copy of it, and that it's fantastic, man. I love it, and I
thank
love
you.
the art complements the story, and the story
Yeah,
obviously complements the art. It's just I love the weird tones of everything in it. But it's a cool comic, man. I need to
thank
read
you.
Pirouette. I really do. I want to read more of your. I'd really want to read that Jungle Book one. I knew you'd done that, but
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. So I'll get it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The Zenoscope really does publish some really good stuff. I think that they have a lot. They do a lot of kind of like cheesecake art on the outside, but inside the stories are really strong, and it does have a really strong following there. So, but yeah, thank you. Thanks for reading the
Yeah,
book and
yeah.
everything. I'm
Thanks
gonna
for
try to
giving.
get you a copy of Pirouette. I don't have a copy yet, so I'm
I want to
waiting
buy
on
it. I want to
that.
support you, man. Let me
Oh,
buy it.
thank you,
I'm
thank
happy
you.
to. Yeah, absolutely, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate all that you do for us.
Oh,
And
no, it's
uh,
it's
we'll
it's
look
my
at it.
pleasure. I love doing just the reviews for you guys are a lot of fun. It's helping me kind of develop my confidence, and just being able to talk on camera and on the mic and hearing my voice and stuff. It's kind of
Yeah, it's a huge
That's a
asset
tough
to our channel.
transition. What's that?
So it's a huge asset to our channel, and we love it.
Oh,
The
thank
audience
you.
loves it, man.
Yeah.
Great,
Um,
great. I'm glad you guys
I,
like it. Yeah, I'm actually tomorrow I'm doing I got the Shout Factory box set that they just put out of Friday the 13th
oh
just within the
wow.
last month. And so I think for the next 12 Fridays, I'm going to be covering a Friday the 13th in each of those, just because I love that series, and I just want to watch each of them and really soak in all the stuff, and this will give me a reason to go back and look at all of those, and just kind of
Now,
report back
what
to everybody.
is there? How many films are there? 12?
There's 12 right now.
12.
Yeah. So for the next, I guess, 3 months, every Friday, I'm gonna try to post a Friday the 13th review. So
Yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun.
I got the first box set a few years back, but I think that was only through the first 7 or first 6 or
Yeah.
something like that, or maybe 8. I think it was 8 films, but then it was different distribution companies or production companies.
Yeah. I don't think it had the remake in it. It might not
No.
have had might and well, this one has the uh the director's cut of part 9, which is not my favorite Friday the 13th. It's probably actually my least favorite, but I know there are people out there who love it. So I
Is
definitely
9?
want to check it out.
Is that that's an 8's Jason Takes Manhattan, right?
Eight's
Which one?
Manhattan, and then 9 is Jason Goes to Hell, where he's barely in it.
I don't
He
love
just
that one
jumps.
either. I hate that
Yeah,
one. I
yeah,
have to rewatch it because a lot of the ones that I hated as a kid, I
yeah,
ended up like when what is it? Jason X. I feel like I'm not. You know what I'm talking about when he goes into space. I remember
yeah,
seeing that and I was just like,
yeah,
I hate this movie.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now
I
that I've
mean,
watched it again, it's like I love how stupid it is. Like I just love the
yeah,
ridiculousness of it.
yeah. I mean, each installment of that, I find something to like, but it's
Hmm.
just those latter ones are really tough, and you really have to look hard to find the good stuff in there. But yeah, up to about 7, I really like them, and
I do too.
I had I have such so many, and I have a story that I'm gonna have in the video about just my first sort of Friday the 13th experience, and I'm definitely gonna be sharing that in the video too. So yeah, it should be a lot of
We
fun.
should all watch all 12 Friday 13th.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
tried. I
Come
think I
back on
watched
and
them.
just have a conversation about all 12.
that
Yeah.
would be fun. I would
Freshen our
love that.
I
minds.
was talking to Mike about. We were talking a few days ago about, and I was talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. And I always kind of felt like Friday the 13th, out of those three, relies more on the series and the franchise than what Nightmare and Halloween did. Even though those still are franchise series, a huge franchise series, I feel like
Mhm.
Friday the 13th, the whole package is all the films. I don't know, and it's just
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Well, it feels like Halloween is like restarted, like
Mm-hmm.
the most out of all of them. It might have a tighter continuity, maybe, but I definitely think it's all over the place in terms of quality. And I there's definitely like a decline. It's like you can see the slope in Friday the 13th. And so you're going up here until about, like, I don't know, for me it's like around 6 or 7, and then there's just this dive in quality. But some people love part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. Some people love Jason X. So they all have their fans, but
Yeah, I
for
think
me it's the earlier stuff.
I'm with you 100%. I remember that Jason Takes Manhattan was where I got kind of like I was like it kind of lost me at that point.
Yeah.
That one I actually truly do go watch back and really do enjoy. I actually turned
Hmm.
that one
He's not
on
even in
a
Manhattan
year or
that
two
long. That's
ago.
the worst part.
Right.
This movie's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think a third
And
of the
plus
movie.
he teleports in that one, and I hated that. It's
I
just,
hated it when it came out. There's moment,
yeah,
but ultimately, like for me to just rewatch, I want probably 1 through 7. I can absolutely do, and I think that
yeah,
might be kind of what you're speaking of. Just there's like those because they were connected and all of those work really well. I feel like they do. The rest are kind of just afterthoughts. Where it's like, like they're cool, but not. But
yeah,
Halloween is a little disjointed because of 3, obviously,
yeah,
which as a kid I didn't love, but now I love a lot.
yeah.
Um, but then they kind of like they don't last. I don't know. Nightmare on Elm Street I feel like is just kind of steady with what it was up until New Nightmare.
Yeah, to me, it's like, and I understand they want to lump Freddy in with like the rest of the slashers, but once they put too much of the supernatural aspect to it, um, it's just steps further away of me.
Yeah.
I like my slashers more believable.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
guess I really love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, even the the latter ones I don't that people hate, I still find like good parts to them that I love. And just because it's there's nothing supernatural about it. It's just, you know, in your face. Just this is just what happens in the real
grimy and
world. Yeah,
right.
it's something you could find in Texas if you drove through Texas, I
The,
guess.
the one with Matthew McConaughey and
Oh yeah,
Renee Zellweger. That's like, I love that movie. That's so
yeah,
it's so crazy. And
yeah.
that one, I don't know, it's just I guess a weird point in my life where maybe I wasn't following horror as much as I have and do
Hmm.
now. But I just remember watching cable one day and it popped on, and I didn't even know it had come out or what it was, and I was just like, "What
Yeah,
the hell is this?" And
yeah.
but I really liked it. I want to go back and watch that. It's been a while.
I think they tried to intentionally bury it because it was technically Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger's first movies, and then like right at that time, their next movies were like The Lincoln Lawyer
Like
and
blockbusters.
yeah, and Jerry Maguire, and so they definitely I think I remember reading that their agents were really trying to bury that movie so nobody would see it. And Renee Zellweger is really bad in that movie. She's just not at
He's weird as
Oscar
hell in that movie.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like you know, Matthew McConaughey. He goes for it, man. He's just like just really gives it 110% there. But Renee Zellweger, it really shows kind of some flaws in her acting, I think. So,
Yeah. One of
so
the audience members asked us what do we think of Alter. I don't know if you've seen Alter or checked that
the sh-
out. It's a YouTube channel
yeah,
that
the
has
short
a bunch of
films.
short films. Yeah, they have some great short films. We like we think they're doing great stuff over there.
Yeah,
We are trying to make a push, and we will be making a push over this next couple of months to be bringing on a lot more short films to our channel.
great, great. Yeah, Alter's great. I've seen quite a few of them. I haven't seen them all, but I've seen my fair share of them, and all of them have they're solid, really great production. But it's like what we were saying, where they're not big budget at all, but
No, it's a lot of
they're
festival films.
yeah, yeah, they do a really good job of just like so many scares, so many just like I mean, and I guess it's a lot of those short films have the same kind of formula. It just builds it. It's quiet and it builds to that big reveal at the end, or just a big like kind of in your face shock.
Yeah,
Um, but there are some that I loved, like Lights Out and Mama. The original short films of those were both just blew me away. I loved it, and a lot of those try to kind of recapture that same formula, but Alter, more than any of the other short film sort of companies out there that produces or represents these things, are definitely has a standard of quality that I think is above
yeah,
most.
yeah. I agree. We're we're making a push because we
Yeah,
want.
we'll have the shorts here on this channel too. So
Yeah, we have a small section, but it's actually they're not. It's not that complicated again, but it's just seeking out the good stuff. And we've been lucky with our with our film festival. We come across a lot of really amazing. We showed 96 short films this year,
yeah,
and they're good. Like they were, we got a lot of submissions this year. But when we played on the channel for the festival, I mean, so we're hoping to get a lot of those, and then some from previous years, and then just keep building on the short film stuff because it's the sad thing about short films is people make great short films, and then once they've done their festival run, they're kind of just sit somewhere. No one really
Yeah,
watches them and enjoys them.
yeah. I mean, occasionally some movie company will buy a bunch of them and just kind of string them together in an anthology sort of movie, which is
Yeah.
great. But yeah, I wish there was like a festival DVD you could get with just these are all the shorts from this year from one festival that offers that. But um, yeah, I guess distribution rights and everything would be tough. I know that the Lights Out movie was really hard to watch online as it was being made for a longer movie. They basically scrubbed the internet clean from that with that film. Same thing with Mama. It's like they didn't want to ruin it, like one of the big scares of the movie, because that they took it right from that short film.
Right.
But
With Lights
but
Out, I don't know why though. I feel like Lights Out just works as a nice piece of promotional material for that movie.
oh yeah, yeah,
Did
the
you like
short is
the
great.
feature?
I thought it was pretty good. It was well done. I just think, and I like what that guy's done. The director has done since that,
Hmm.
and that was kind of his bridge to feature filmmaking. I know that he's done, and he did a short film that he filmed during the pandemic as well that I think worked really well. But Lights Out was not my favorite. I think it was coming out during a wave of all of these big budget kind of like ghost stories that
Right.
from Blumhouse. And I don't know, Lights Out was it was one of the okay ones, but it didn't blow me away like the short film did. I mean, the short
Yeah.
film terrified me.
Yeah, for me, the opening 10 minutes of Lights Out of the feature, I loved,
Hmm.
and I felt like that. I felt like the beginning was almost too good for the rest of the movie. Like it
Yeah,
started off so well, and then for me, the story just kind of fell apart. I mean, it's an entertaining movie, but I didn't love it that much either. But I
yeah.
love the short film, and like I said, I love the beginning of it. Um,
Hmm.
but it felt to me like they were just, and I might have even heard the director say that on a podcast, but how it was rushed. I'm pretty sure that the script process was pretty rushed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
it was one of those things where you just it definitely kind of it felt like the production he didn't have a full plan going into the movie. It felt like it worked much better as a short film, and the story that he used to flesh out the character just it didn't work for me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, and I don't want to beat it up because it's just a horror movie. We love them for what they, but like, I just felt like my biggest complaint with that was while I was watching it was just like the boyfriend. The boyfriend was just buying into everything. He's like, no, this
Yeah,
can't be real. Okay, it's real for sure. Like, like it was just, I felt like things happened so fast in that
yeah,
movie. Where it was just like, yeah, we have a ghost in our house or whatever, and you gotta leave, keep the lights on, and it's like,
yeah.
and he was like, oh, okay, we do. Like, let's jump into that some more. Like, it was just,
I can understand why that would be quick though, because I think that if the audience knows what's going on and there's still a person clueless and that needs
right.
to be filled in, I mean, that's time that is just sort of wasted in a movie. And I think that it, I can understand why he might have rushed that transition of him doing
Right.
that. But I agree. If as soon as I see something, a movie where all of a sudden, like someone just accepts that this is going on. There's this weird I don't know, it could be Cthulhu, it could be vampires, it could be whatever. When they just automatically accept it and start to run with it, it's just less believable. You got to have a point where you
Well,
just
sometimes
freak
just like
out.
a single line of dialogue is just
Yeah.
like all that's necessary. Of just like, I know this is really unbelievable, and I know
Yeah.
that but this is true. And then there's like, I don't know, just that little bit sometimes is just enough
Yeah.
to go like, obviously we're watching things that aren't real at all, and we're
Yeah.
accepting most of it. But like every now and then, there's just those little. For that one, I just remember moments where I was just like, man, that happened. Like that guy just was totally not on board, and then on board in a heartbeat, and not any explanation for it. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like i- i- if they don't, yeah, there needs to be something. Just you're right. I think in a lot of movies, all they need is that one line to transition it, and then you're fine.
yeah, that's enough. Like that's all we really want. We don't need there to be more. We don't,
Yeah.
we get it.
We don't
Someone
want
said
to
they're
follow
watching
them as
lots
they
out.
have their nervous
Yeah,
breakdown and go into the hospital
right.
and,
That would
deal
be
with it with
30
their
minutes of story
therapist
there.
and
That's a
just
different horror movie.
yeah, yeah.
And someone said they're literally watching Lights Out right now.
Nice,
That's
nice.
awesome. Yeah, I do want to go back. I watched it one of the theaters and I haven't watched it again since. I'd like to, but I
Yeah,
watch your reviews and read your, and listen to your reviews and stuff so frequently that I end up, picking up movies, from your suggestions. So
yeah.
it's helpful for me. I hope
Uh,
everyone else is doing the same.
Triggered is really good. It just came out on I think it's just on demand and digital download, but it's definitely it's one of those movies where it just hits the ground running and it's a lot of fun. It's funny, but it's gory and it's a really cool. It's kind of got Saw aspects to it, but
Okay.
in a less of a torture porny way. It's more of like a game of laser tag where each of them have bombs strapped to their chests and they're
Oh, that's
trying to
fun.
kill basically it's a group of just people that are just horrible people and someone who they have tormented in the past basically straps bombs to each of their chests, and they just let them loose in the woods. So they're just trapped in the woods, but they're all running around and trying to, and they realize that each of them have this set amount of time, and if they kill a person, they take their time. So it's really,
Oh
it
wow.
uses aspects of video games and things like that, but it works just really well. And the script is really great. It's funny and boppy, and it just keeps things just moving very quickly. And it's like a huge cast of like 9 characters, but they whittle each other down to just like one character. Everyone's covered in blood and body parts, and they're turning on who they thought was their best friends, but they're all fighting for their lives. And it's fun to see people kind of their best friends 1 second, and then they
Right.
when the when everything goes down, when the cards are on the table, they have to do this in order to survive, and what they'll do to and what lengths they'll go. So I loved that. Triggered. It's called Triggered, and it just came out. And
I'll
it's
have to watch that one. Is it on VOD or is it on a
yeah,
TV?
yeah, it's on demand. And I thought it was great. It's one of my favorites so far. And now that I finished my best of the year, I think I'm gonna do like around January, like the 1st of January, just do a kind of like November through January like list, just kind of to make up for that last section of the year.
Right.
Um, and so I'm definitely going to do like a quick top 10 list video, just to kind of post and see what other movies that came out that are worth noting, I guess, for the year. So
Yeah.
people seem to like those lists, so I'm definitely going to
Yeah, those lists are awesome because it kind of I use it. It ends up telling me what I need to go see. One of the ones you suggested through your M.L.Miller Frights was The Hunt, which I
hmm
don't know that I would have seen The Hunt. Like I don't know why it just didn't appeal to me at a glance. But
yeah,
God, I love that movie.
yeah, yeah,
That movie's
it
so
was
much
great.
fun, man.
Oh,
Like,
so I mean, it's kind of like Triggered, where it's like it just hits the ground running, and everybody is just, it really just brings out the evil in people, which
right.
is great, you know.
Yeah, it's that was a great movie. I really enjoyed that. We should
Yeah.
do we if you're down for it, we'll have to continue to do some more of this stuff together and chat and do some lists. And I would love to rewatch all 12 Friday the 13th. I don't know how fast I can get through them, but I would love to do that. Then
I would do that.
so
Yeah.
that
Well,
can
I
share
am doing
details
that
about
over the next couple of
it. Yeah.
Fridays. But I would definitely go back, and we could all just talk about each installment. There was a podcast. Oh gosh, it's it's always Friday the 13th. I think that's what it was called. Oh, the guys are going to kill me because I actually appeared on their show on their last episode, but they were covering each episode. And I just got addicted to it just because it was just so much fun revisiting that, and it made me go back and watch those movies, just like how this guy's watching Lights Out right now. So
Right.
yeah, definitely. um, but yeah, all these like movie suggestions, it's always fun to kind of take from that, and just watch either old or new movies. It's always fun to do that.
Yeah. Um Another thing that I wanted to chat about real quick was you guys are doing a Kickstarter campaign, correct? For
hmm
another comic book?
Yeah, I'm not running it. I'm just sort of contributing an 8-page story to it. But again, it's with my artist Carlos Granda, who I worked with on The Jungle Book and Pirouette. We did a story about it's basically the worst movie theater you could possibly think of, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, with the worst crowd possible, and something happens in that theater that and that's all I'm going to say. It's just kind of like it's like a moralistic sort of story of to actually mind your p's and q's, at the theater, and stay quiet, watch the movie, get off your phone, stop
I
screaming, and
love it.
don't leave the kids at home, stuff like
Right.
that, all the stuff that I hate when I'm sitting there and I'm in a theater and I see like just either a group of rowdy people coming in, or a group of like a group with children, or just uh, people in front of me that all they're doing is talking, or all they're doing is making out, or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it is,
Now
it's
they end
like,
up right
God,
next
doesn't
to you
anyone
every
just
time.
go to
Yeah.
movies anymore? Don't anyone just like go there and just appreciate the movie? Do they have to just be the worst? But yeah, it's that. So it's basically a collection. It's a huge book. It's like 200 plus pages
Oh,
of some really awesome artists and really awesome writers who are they're not big names yet, but they will be. I just from what I've seen, I haven't seen all of any of the other stories. I've been too busy trying to put my story together by the deadline. But now that it's all finished, I really want to check out all the other stories that are going to be on that. And um, I love those anthologies because you can, if you don't like one story, you skip to the next one, and this one, that one could be better. And so it just gives you like a huge grab bag of cool stuff. So that's basically so it's called Nightmare Theater, and my installment is called Opening Night. So it takes place inside the Nightmare Theater, but it's kind of hosted by what you were talking about, or what we were talking about earlier about. It has like these three horror hosts who are basically your crypt keeper for each of these stories. So they just introduce one story after another, and I think mine's going to be towards the end, if not the last one, because I think they really like the way it wraps things up, and so they said it might be a good final beat for
that's
the whole
awesome.
That's
collection.
great,
So
man.
it's cool. It's good to be last. You know, you save.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if it's the best, but they save. You know, me for last. In my opinion, I'm the best. So
That's awesome, man. Well,
it does. Yeah, is that
congratulations.
wrong to do that? Think that? But I don't
No,
know.
no,
Yeah,
you gotta
everyone loves
appreciate
the
your own
smell of
work,
their own
man.
farts. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome. I just dropped the link in there and pinned it to the top. So if anyone wants to check out Mark's their Kickstarter campaign for that,
yeah,
go over there
I
and
think
check out.
there's
And
I think there's like six days left on it,
I
and
believe it was 6 days. Yeah.
yeah. Don't forget the jerks taking selfies and laser pointers. I hate laser pointers in theaters. This is the worst. They always do the same things with the laser pointers. It's like they always like have like a light in the nose hole, or or
Arm boobs.
yeah, if it's a girl, it's always the boobs. So that's just like come up with a new routine. We've seen that laser pointer gag a million times. But
Yeah.
The worst thing for the theater for me is like when you're sitting in the trailers, and then as soon as the trailer ends, there's that split silence. Someone just feels like they have to just say something. Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
yeah,
Just it's like, can you just sit in silence for a split second till the next trailer
yeah,
comes on?
yeah. Usually when I'm
Whoa!
Yeah, there's
yeah,
the theater comedian that has to
yeah.
just like
Yeah, I unfortunately sometimes I'm the theater comedian. I can find myself, or
And
my group of
I
friends
guess
are.
I'm a little more forgiving at the
Yeah,
in the trailers.
if it's funny,
Yeah,
if
right.
it's lame, no. But it's like we would get like a Jack Reacher like trailer, and I'd be like, I mean, anyone seen Jack Reacher around here? Reach Around Again. That was like the Jack Reacher 2, and it's just
Yeah, that's
but
not a great title. It's amazing that title made it to where it made it. Like,
yeah,
did no one
yeah.
stop that title along the way?
I
Like,
know. I don't know. I guess Tom Cruise is just, he's kind of not so subtle about his messaging in his movies, I guess. I don't
uh,
know. Now we got the Scientologists against us now.
yeah.
So,
That's funny, man.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, the comic book is going to be published. It is funded right now, and they have extra like goals. I'm just looking in the talk the
chat.
talk box right
Yeah.
here, the chat room, whatever it's called. I'm used to AICN talk, but yeah, it's going to be published basically next year. You can donate the cash now to help it. Basically, you're help funding it getting published and pressed and look really good. You can get a hardcover version of it or a softcover version of it, and it's a fantastic production. These guys who are putting it together, it's Clay Adams and Dave Schrader. Both of them are experts at Kickstarter, and if and when I start a campaign, like a crowdfunding campaign, I'm definitely going to go to them um, to help me put mine together. So yeah,
Some people
it's
really know how to make crowdfunding work, and
Oh, I know. It's crazy. And it seems like that's kind of it's not it's not the only avenue that's there for the future of comics, but I think it's going to be it is one of the big ones, and I think it's only going to grow, because it I think if you know a creator and you trust them, you're going to want to pay a little extra to help that person get that project made, rather than just going to the comic store and having to pick something. You get to kind of curate how, like, what type of books are going to be available, and if
Yeah.
you don't like it, the Kickstarter plan won't be funded, and you don't have to get it. But if you like it, you back it, and you try to pass it
Yeah.
on to other people.
Same
So
thing with for the creators, like if they're not getting the response, they don't make it. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really kind of a genius thing. That format is.
yeah, you go right to the fans. It's
Hmm.
not like, you cut out the middleman of the distributor and everything. You show if there's actually interest in that, like, in that sort of subject.
And then with the perks and stuff, that's what like crowdfunding is. I always think is so cool is and I wish they would do it on a larger level, but getting that access, like, to, if you want a signed copy or a different cover, or like in the case you're talking about, like a hardback version. Not everybody wants that or wants to spend the money, but having
Yeah.
the ability to do that ahead of time, then the creator doesn't have to make 1,000 copies of something that doesn't going to sell it.
Yeah, like, I mean, there are huge creator or huge collectors out there who like original art,
Yeah.
and they just want to own that piece that they want framed and put on their wall, especially if it's an artist they follow, and they know that that's a one of a kind.
Yeah.
My artist, he's in Colombia, but I really wish I could get a piece of it, of one of his art pieces of my work, of like adapting my stories, just
Right.
because it's
Yeah, that's
great. Yeah.
amazing. Does he
Um,
do his art? Like, is his actually done physically, or is it done through?
I think he does it physically, but then I think he manipulates it a little bit with like computer wise. I'm not sure exactly of his process, but he does have a. Let me find it here. It's Carlos Granda.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to look for the name of his page. He's got a YouTube page where he does basically breakdowns. Um, where is it? It follows him in sort of like a time lapse sort of thing, and I've watched him actually make my comics, and it's
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
amazing to see it kind of just be made from a blank piece of paper, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, I'm subscribed to so many things. But yeah, it's a Granda Comics. But I'll send the here. Let me put the YouTube link in there. My technical skills are showing. Um, oops. Let's see. Try again. Edit. Try again. All right, let me try it again.
Jasmine is asking where she can get the book. So Jasmine, they have the right now. It's a for this one. It's a Kickstarter project, and they're doing the funding phase of it right now. And
Hmm.
when did you say you think it'd be done, Mark? Next year?
It'll be published next year. Let's see. Is this going in? Oops. Okay, wait. It says it keeps saying, "Oops, remove web addresses and try again."
Just write something in there, and then I can make you like an admin in the comments, and then you can put it in there.
Oh, okay. I put 3 H's.
Give me one sec. This should work. We'll see if we know what we're talking about. Try it now. Cosmo Afterlife is asking for the link. The link to the Kickstarter campaign is pinned at the top,
Yes.
up there, Cosmo. So if you click on that, you can take a look at that.
Okay. There's the link. I just put it in there. Will it? That's the link. That's the link for Carlos's videos. But I think there was another question up here asking about, is it going to be gore, suspense, or action based? And I think it's all three. The Nightmare Theater. It's basically, um, the pages I've seen. Mine is pretty gory and pretty action centric, but it's also, I try to put some humor in there just to have fun with it, um, because I think that when you get a crowd, some of the crowd rabble it lends to some comedy, and Carlos really amps up some comedy bits. There's this amazing scene of that Carlos did of a giant view of the theater, and he hated me for making him draw this, but after it was all done, it just looks, I mean, it looks amazing. I don't want, it's only an 8-pager, so I don't want to ruin any of the pages that they
Right.
haven't released yet. But trust me, Carlos's work is amazing. I think so Cosmo After Life.
And for some reason, the link didn't show up in here. I don't know what. Did
Oh,
you
let
hit?
me try it again.
Let me try it again.
Oh, there he goes.
There it
There we
goes.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hit a space behind it. So there's Carlos's comic page, and you can see him working on the Nightmare Theater story, as well as just
Oh,
some of the
wow.
other stuff that he's been doing. So he's a fantastic artist. I mean, he is. I'm gonna have him work with me for as long as I possibly can. I'm sure one of the like Marvel or DC are gonna swipe him up and steal him away from me for one day. But until then, we're gonna work together until he can anymore. But yeah, my story is going to be gore, little suspense, action, and comedy. Um, and I think someone also asked about what's the budget to get the comic
Yeah.
done. And I think it depends on each comic. With this being a collaboration, I think it's probably less expensive than if you're going to be doing your own book. One of the things that you have to really think about, not only publishing, but you have to pay your artists, you have to pay your letterer, your colorist, and most of that stuff comes out of pocket when you're going in this. But this theater, or this Nightmare Theater book, I think it's going to be a pretty widely seen book. So I wanted to be a part of it. So I didn't mind putting some extra money down to actually getting it made. And so maybe a little bit of the kickback goes to us if it goes far over the limit, but we're not expecting anything like that. I think we're just doing it because we love horror, and we love horror in comics and movies and stuff. And so this definitely, if you like that stuff, that there's definitely something for you. But the variety is so wide that if you don't like one story or the tone of one story, you're going to find another one it's totally serious. The story that I came up with had a more comedic tone, so that's what we went for.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's fun or it's important to do stuff like that. Where I think that to people that maybe not are that involved in a lot of this stuff, it seems like it's a big payday. But a lot of times you're doing stuff like that for just to kind of help push your own brand and your own thing, and it's worth the investment. To
Yeah, it's
part of
like
something.
the first comics that I did were at a smaller publisher called Blue Water, and became um, they became kind of notorious for having the artists and writers weren't getting paid. But I saw that as more of, I actually had that physical copy of the comic book that I had made, and I was able to show it to the next publisher. And that was like my internship, where I don't get
Right.
paid, but I'm like learning the tricks of the trade, and I'm learning more and more as it goes along. And then that'll go to hopefully a paid gig at another place. And so as you're going, you have to pick and choose. You don't want to always give yourself away for free, but I think that if it means for further work down the line, I don't think that that's as much of a problem as some people think it is. I think too many people think that they're just going to break into comics, and then all of a sudden they're going to do their 50 issue crossover that and that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, you got to
you
kind of
know
break in any art form. I feel like you're doing. If you
It's
don't do stuff for free, you're not gonna
yeah,
get paid at
yeah.
some point.
yeah, and it's very similar to the film world.
Yeah, I worked for a couple of film sets, and I never got paid for it. It was just, we were all there for just the love of the genre, love of movie making. I was like early 20s, and just like kind of running around, the learning how to be a gaffer, learning how to be like, just running around, and just knowing how to coil the wiring, and moving this box here, or transporting. I had to run to like um, to the hardware store and pick up plastic bags to
Right.
cover up windows, and all kinds of just different things that you just do because you're like, I'm making a movie. This is awesome.
Right.
You know, you get
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of coolness of it. And if you get a good group of people, um, I think that really works. If everyone's kind of behind it and knowing, not expecting like a paycheck or to stand out as like the biggest, I don't know, the biggest contributor or whatever. I think that works.
Yeah,
That
so
works
many just
best.
different skill sets, and it's so
Yeah,
different than anything. It's you got big labor guys, and you got sound guys, and it's very it is a crazy art form
yeah.
of
Yeah.
different
And
people.
you have to know a little bit about everything. I think that's in all of them. It's like I don't know as much as I should about lettering, but I want to learn a little bit more.
Right.
But I would never try to take away from the letterer that I've worked with, Jim Campbell. He's he has been basically he's lettered almost every one of the comic books that I've ever published, and I just love his dedication to the craft. He's a letterer. I don't think he's not trying to be a writer. He's not trying to be an artist or anything. He just loves lettering and loves doing that and making the page. There's a craft to actually putting word balloons in a space
Yeah.
that doesn't block out the art and that's legible, but also gives a character. You can give a character to lettering as well. And one of the things that you can really tell about uh, uh, like the oh gosh. One of the things that you can really tell about like amateur comic booking is the lettering. You can tell
Right.
just the way the spacing of it, the way it looks, the bubble's too big and there's like a little word in the middle, or they're cramming so many words into a small bubble and it just doesn't work. So
Yeah, it's interesting to because I don't know, it makes me think of was it Chasing Amy? With a
mhm.
movie chasing it, like where
Yeah,
there's
the
like
anchor.
the
Yeah,
anchor, yeah, like
yeah,
to the average person that does it, that just likes comic books or whatever, those jobs are seen, they're given such little appreciation. But
yeah.
they're like you said, in the cases where it's independent stuff and it's not done well, it stands out like
Oh yeah, yeah,
completely. Even if you can't, even if the average eye doesn't go like this is like something's wrong here, like the
yeah.
inking and all those things are so important.
Well, I've seen Carlos's stuff, and he has a colorist that he works with very closely, and sometimes that colorist is available, sometimes not, and you can definitely see a different quality. It's always great artwork, but I think that when he works with this specific colorist, they complement each other so well, and it makes it so that it makes it so much more interesting to look at. Just fuller, it just kind of enriches the picture. And I've seen people like see Carlos's art in one book and then a different. I'm like, well, it's probably because of the colors. That's the difference that you're seeing.
Right.
But yeah, he's fantastic. They said someone said earlier. I should just put him in, like tie him up and throw him in my basement. And
Yeah.
I don't have a basement, but
But if you did, you think about it.
yeah, I do have a storage space, so I'll set up a drafting table there, and I think they'll be okay with it. So
At least if he ends up getting picked up by one of the big companies, you'll do that. You can do it.
yeah, yeah,
If Marvel
definitely.
comes after him, and he goes missing, we know where he's at.
Yeah, yeah. There's a story there.
Somebody was asking about doing like horror as a play, like a stage in real time. Sarah brought
Yeah,
that up. That would be
I
fun to do and see. I don't.
I saw Evil Dead the musical a while back, and that was fun. It was I mean, it was more of like a rowdy, like musical stuff, and they sprayed the audience with blood, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know. Oh, and I also saw Danny Boyle's version of Frankenstein, which is
Oh
really
wow.
amazing. He had Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller, and it was basically just those two on the stage the whole time telling the story of Frankenstein, and each of them switched roles. So one night they did it for like 4 nights in a row, and one night Cumberbatch was Frankenstein, and the next time he was the monster. And Johnny Lee Miller did the same thing. They switched, and
That's
it
awesome.
was pretty fantastic because they did they whittled away all the special effects, all of the stuff. They had their own costumes, and the stage kind of rotated, but still it was very bare bones. And if you can do it, I think it really could work. but I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse. So I'm not
Right.
a a stage thespian or whatever.
There
Yeah.
was a it's kind of like a stage mixing a stage play with kind of a haunted house type thing. There was a guy here in town in Vegas. Was actually sponsored for our film festival. Did Horrorwood Video, and it was a haunted house, but it was like a little boutique haunted house where you were very he brought you into the actual storyline of it. So you actually
Cool.
you had to go through these different rooms. It was a VHS store, and you walk into the store, and it's the guy behind the counter leads you back behind into the back room, and then you kind of actively, you know, solve a puzzle, you know, through these different scenes of these different movies. So it's kind of
Cool.
a yeah, that was kind of a cool concept,
It was really, yeah, it was really cool. It's called Horrorwood Video.
Horrorwood Video.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was one of, it's
Nice.
like a guy who does a lot of local plays here in town. But
Cool.
it was very heavily acted. Like, like a haunted house doesn't necessarily have a lot of acting usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's all improv if it does, but this was different. It was, I kind of forgot about that, Justin. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It was almost like you're Bill and Ted going into like these different scenes, you know.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah, just a fly on the wall, seeing everything
Yeah.
play out.
And there
Well,
was,
I love single act movies, like like the one that immediately comes to mind is Reservoir Dogs, where it all takes place basically in that little warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
But movies that like Saw, sort of, where it's taking place in another like little room, but it's a great way to make a horror movie because you don't have to have a huge budget. All you do is have to decorate one room,
right.
and then move the camera around. But I think that it's definitely not it, it not every story lends to that, but when you can get to it, I think it works
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. I was reading a couple of comments here. It
Yeah.
sounds like someone says we're having a mic issue, an echo,
Huh.
but I don't hear it. Do you guys hear an echo?
I
But it
don't
doesn't
hear
mean
it
we're not
either.
broadcasting an echo.
I was messing around with the plug here, so that might be
Oh.
it. I don't know. Hopefully.
We're still finding our way. So
Yeah.
we'll figure this out.
Next
But-
time you'll actually be able to hear us. So
Yeah.
it'll be awesome.
Next time you won't be wondering what we've been doing for 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, I guess we have been on for an hour and 45 minutes. It's probably time to kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
But it was awesome chatting with you. And again, to everybody who is watching, if anybody came in a little late or watches this later, Mark Miller here is the guy behind M.L.Miller Frights, who's a massive contributor to our channel and a great voice for horror films and champion of all things horror, from low budget to big budget, which is why I think you fit very well on our channel. I think I've shared
Thanks.
with you a little bit before, like you reviewed my first film, was one of the pinnacles of my, like one of the things that I was like, man, if somebody did a review on my movie on Ain't It Cool News, that means that I don't suck completely. But it was also something I never thought would happen. And when it just came across my way, and my first movie's not great by any means, but you were very kind to it and, found the things that we tried to accomplish. And I do appreciate that.
Well, I don't know if I'm the one of the ones on that site. That site had it was one of those things where there were a lot of contributors to that one, and there were some really big names on that site, and I was one of the smaller voices there. But yeah, I was happy to watch your film, and I think it was like a lot of fun. It was the
Thank you.
Underworld one, right?
That one was a beast, a monster among men. It was the
Oh,
big
Beast and Monster Among Men. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. No, I like that one too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that I definitely think that like the low budget horror, that's where you see the passion, and that's where you really see just the joy of making horror films, because it's almost infectious sometimes when you watch a movie, and I don't care if it's just bad production, whatever, bad acting, whatever, but you could still feel just this love for the genre that you don't see that in like a low budget romantic comedy or a
Right.
low
No, not at
budget
all.
like
It's not as
you know,
forgivable in those either.
yeah. But
But
I don't really
Underneath was the other one, and that was another one that you reviewed.
Underneath, yeah,
kindly.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah,
No, that's all right, but I appreciate that too.
yeah,
That
yeah.
one's I've toyed. I've kind of tried to kick around the ideas if I should bring that onto Kings of Horror because it's not really horror. It's drama, but dark drama. I don't know, but one day I might throw it on the channel.
Sure.
So people can
Sure.
watch it for free.
Horror is a wide genre, you know.
Yep.
We like to watch a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again for hanging out with us today, man. I want to do this more often. So if you're
Definitely.
down for it, we'll do it with you more often.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we should really look into like doing the Friday the 13th marathon thing. So like,
Yeah, we definitely should.
I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm in. I'm gonna start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch one tonight.
All right.
Justin, are you
Yeah, I
on
watched
board?
the first one yesterday, and I'm finishing up my review to post tomorrow. So I'll make sure to get it to you ASAP so that we can post it on
Yeah.
Kings of Horror as well
Awesome.
tomorrow. So it's you got to have it on the Friday the 13th. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. I always have to watch one on a Friday the 13th whenever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thanks
So,
again for
Mark, real
joining us.
fast, just tell the audience again what what do you got going on, and then
Yeah.
plug your stuff real fast. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Jasmine. Thanks for glad she said she was glad I joined today. So thank you for joining as well. I have the Kickstarter, which is Nightmare Theater, and that's a six pager inside of that book, and the book is filled with really cool projects. The Kickstarter link is at the top of the talk back here, or the chat here, and I also have Pirouette coming out next week in comic stores, and I might do like a little video just talking about the first issue of that book, because I think the first issue is released online, and so I might just walk people through the first couple of pages and really just kind of get to kind of immerse yourself in the story, and so then you can hopefully go out and buy the rest of it.
That'd
So
be great.
yeah, it's a really fun film, or fun comic. I
Right.
love it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, again, congratulations on the success of the Kickstarter campaign and
Thank you.
the comic coming into trade, because that's also not every comic gets to go to trade. Not like in a lot of cases they don't make them, right. So that's
Yeah,
cool to
you
be
really
done.
have to kind of fight tooth and nail sometimes to get it, and I have. So really it's because of the fans. They kept on asking about it because the first issue was out there and people really took to the first issue, and we just had a couple of snags as far as producing it, so that took us off schedule. But now we got the whole thing done, and hopefully we can make more. Fingers crossed. Maybe a Kickstarter campaign. We'll see what happens.
Let us
But
know.
I'll keep you posted, definitely.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks
Thanks a
again for
lot, Mark.
joining us. Thank you everybody for joining us in the chat. We had a pretty loyal 20 or so people just hung out with us this entire time. You guys are
Awesome. Thank you.
awesome. So thank you. And this will stay up on the channel. So, if you jumped in now, you can go back and rewatch it from the beginning or listen to it. So we will be back with our Friday the 13th 12 movie marathon.
Yeah.
It'll be less than an hour and 50
sign up
minutes this
for?
time.
We'll be
Set
back
the
in
day.
5 minutes with us now.
All right. See you guys later.
Take care,
All right,
man.
see ya.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Bye.